In this week's video, we look at what it takes to tow a trailer with your RAV4 Prime, so that when you're ready, you can take your vacation home with you wherever you go. Join us in this brand new video from Golden Canine Campers. Hi everyone, my name is Daryl, and today we're going to talk about towing in your RAV4 Prime. So one of the reasons why we got our Prime was because of the fact that it can tow and it got great fuel economy. So what exactly can a RAV4 Prime tow? Well, I actually did a video on different trailers that you could tow with your RAV4 Prime. So if you are interested in kind of a comparison of the trailers, go ahead and check out that video. But wait till later. So you need to know that your RAV4 Prime, it has a maximum towing capacity of 2,500 pounds, and you can put a maximum of 250 pounds on the tongue. So you might think that's quite a bit, but in reality, when you're looking at those numbers, the general guideline is whatever the max tow capacity of a vehicle is you really should not exceed about 80% of those numbers. And the reason why is because a lot of times you're going to be towing up in the mountains, going uphill, you're going to have less horsepower. So 80% of those numbers is kind of what you want to shoot for. But when I'm saying 80% of those numbers, you really need to know for a particular trailer what it weighs. Generally, when you look at different manufacturers and different trailers, they're going to give you a dry weight of that particular trailer. The dry weight includes the basic trailer, but that's it. A lot of times if you add accessories after the fact, it doesn't include that. Typically, it doesn't include the battery, which a lot of times weighs between 50 and 70 pounds. And often it doesn't include the propane and the propane canisters as well. So when you're looking at that dry weight, you need to add a certain amount or a certain percentage to that number for what the actual weight is. And that also doesn't include all the stuff that you put into the trailer. So you really need to take a critical look at those numbers in order to determine what your RAV4 Prime can tow. So in regards to that tongue weight that I mentioned, the RAV4 Prime can tow 2,500 pounds and has a maximum tongue weight of 250 pounds. So let's look at the tongue real quick. So this is the tongue of our A-liner. So when you hitch your RAV4 Prime or any tow vehicle, you're going to hitch it right here onto the tongue. And a certain percentage of weight on that particular trailer is going to live on that tongue. For most trailers, it's around 10%, 11% or so. Now that weight will vary depending on what you have on that tongue. And so if I put a battery on there, that tongue weight's going to go up. If I put propane on that tongue weight's going to go up. But usually the general guideline is you want to have 10 to 15% of the weight on the tongue in regards to the overall weight of the trailer with all your gear installed and all the stuff installed in it. That's going to basically allow that trailer to be towed safely. If you have not enough weight on that tongue, that's a safety hazard because that tongue is going to be light and that trailer could kind of swing around and be very unsafe. If that tongue is too heavy, your vehicle is going to have a difficult time towing it. So as I mentioned, 10 to 15% of the weight of the trailer should be on the tongue. The RAV4 Prime is actually a little bit different. If you look at the owner's manual for the RAV4 Prime, it suggests between 9 to 11% of the weight should be on the tongue of the trailer. So that kind of tells you that in regards to the RAV4 Prime, they want you to be on the low end of that tongue weight because they don't want to overburden the Prime and the suspension of the Prime. You really need to pay close attention to the overall trailer weight as well as the tongue weight that you have on your trailer. So the other number to pay really close attention to is the max payload capacity. The max payload capacity is basically the amount of weight that you can have in your vehicle, including yourself, your passengers, your gear, and when towing, what the tongue weight of the trailer is. If you look online and you say, what's the max payload capacity of a RAV4 Prime? It will give you something like 1,200 or 1,300 pounds, which is incorrect. So if you look at the door jamb of your RAV4 Prime, it's going to show you what the capacity is for your particular vehicle. They'll all be a little bit different. Mine is about 970 pounds. So what does that mean? That means that if we have 4 full-size adults, or average-size adults, I guess, depending on how big they are, let's say 4 average-size adults are 175 pounds each. So you take 175 pounds, you multiply it by 4, that goes to 700 pounds. Let's say we have 100 pounds of cargo, that puts us at 800 pounds. We can now only have a trailer that has 170 pounds of tongue weight that we can safely tow. So you need to really pay attention also to how many people and how much gear you have in your RAV4 Prime, as well as what that tongue weight is, because that's going to add up in regards to your payload capacity. So now we have an idea on what kind of trailers that we can pull. We have an idea on what our max towing capacity on the RAV4 Prime is. Now we need to get a hitch so we can actually tow something. So what kind of hitch are you going to get? Are you going to get just a cheap third-party hitch and have U-Haul install it? That's not the direction I would go. Really, I would get Toyota's OEM hitch. It's a really good quality hitch. But the most important part of it is the hitch doesn't go underneath the bumper. It actually integrates with the bumper. So you get more clearance. So when you're towing, that hitch is going to sit higher, which is really important. So most of the things that you're towing out there are going to looking for a much taller tow vehicle. So if you do decide to go with an OEM hitch and you have the dealer install it, I would recommend that you call to multiple dealers, because I called like 6 different dealers here in Las Vegas, and each one of them I got a different price, and they were significantly different. If you're going to have the dealer do an OEM hitch install, and if you have an XSE with premium package, there's a probably pretty good chance that you're actually going to lose the kick sensor functionality in that premium package, so just be aware of that up front. The other thing that you're going to need to have installed along with the hitch is the wiring harness. The wiring harness is basically what lets your vehicle's electrical system connect to the trailer. So when you're running the trailer, you're going to need to run the brake lights, the turn lights, the running lights, and you're also going to need to run the brakes. And so in order to do that, you have to have a wiring harness in place. I would go ahead and have your dealer install that at the same time. So the wiring harness that Toyota has is a 4-pin wiring harness. You actually usually need a 7-pin wiring harness in order to tow most trailers. The 7-pin wiring harness gives you the additional functionality of being able to control the brakes through a brake controller. There are a lot of adapters out there which are a 4-pin to 7-pin adapter, and I was going to purchase one and have my Toyota dealer install it. And I talked to multiple Toyota dealers and all of them refused. So you might have a dealer that will let you do that. I would recommend that as you're getting pricing for the install of the wiring harness, say, hey, can you also do a 4-pin to 7-pin at the same time? And hopefully they'll let you do that. So I had to go to kind of a custom truck accessories shop. So one of the things that that shop did for me is they actually installed that 4-pin, 7-pin adapter right in the bracket where the 4-pin goes, and they installed it kind of upright. Now, it did require them to cut out a little bit more of the bumper, but I think it looks really good. I think it cleans up the install, and it also gives you additional clearance, which is helpful. So the next thing that you need to do is you need to install a receiver for your RAV4 Prime, and you need to install the ball. Each trailer's hitch is going to be at a different height, and you're going to want to have this thing in your RAV4 so that when you're towing, that trailer is going to be level. And so as you're towing a particular trailer, you're going to want to keep it level as it's going down the street. Now, luckily, if you buy your trailer from a dealer, it's likely that they're going to take care of some of these for you. So they're going to make sure that you get the right receiver for your vehicle and it's at the right height for the trailer and for your tow vehicle so that tows correctly. But if you buy a used trailer like I did, then you're going to have to do some of this stuff yourself. And the last thing that you're going to need to purchase is a wireless brake controller. I mean, I guess you could do a wired brake controller, but the electronics are pretty complicated in the RAV4 Prime, And in order to get a wired brake controller, you're gonna have to do a lot of work underneath the dash. And I don't really know very many people that have done that. The wireless brake controller is really easy and it works great. So here's my wireless brake controller, I guess you could call it. So this basically just plugs into the cigarette lighter. And this right here is how I basically control the brakes. So if I need to really get on the brakes really hard right away, I could hit this button to do that. And this controller is also how I configure the wireless brake controller, so that there's a little bit of setup when you first get it, just to make sure that this is set up correctly and the brakes are set up correctly for the weight of the trailer as well as the brakes and your particular vehicle. But basically what you do is you install the brake controller, which is this guy right here. So you install it onto the frame of your trailer and you keep it nice and level. So this brake controller, it plugs into the trailer right here. And then this part of the brake controller then goes all the way back to the tow vehicle and connects to the 7-pin connector that's been installed with your wiring harness. So there are some folks that tow their trailers without brake controllers, and I think that's a big mistake. Most states require anything over about 1,000 pounds to have electronic brakes on the trailer, as well as a brake controller on your vehicle so that you can control it. The RAV4 Prime, if you look in the owner's manual, it says that the unbraked trailer weight, the maximum is 1,000 pounds. So anything over 1,000 pounds, they require you to have brakes on the trailer. So as I've mentioned previously, there's the weight that the manufacturers say is on a particular trailer. Some manufacturers might be a little bit better than others in regards to that weight. So for instance, this A-liner trailer that we have, I'll show you, it has a number called the A-liner real weight. And so actually from the factory, after this particular trailer is built, they weigh it and then they put this number down. So you can be assured, at least for this particular trailer, that that's what the weight of the trailer is. Other manufacturers might not get that specific, so they'll say, well, for this particular trailer type, this is what the weight usually is, but there's gonna be variances from trailer to trailer. So when I look at different A-liners real weight, there's differences from trailer to trailer and from dealer to dealer. So a lot of times it can be as many as 50, 75 pounds. Basically when they build it and the materials that they use to build it can have a little bit of variance to it. So what I really recommend that you do is after you get your trailer and after you get it fully loaded, you're gonna wanna take it somewhere and get it weighed. So I did a little procedure where I can weigh the tongue. So if you are interested in that, you can check out this video. The other thing I want to do is actually weigh the trailer after I've got everything in it. And you can go to this place called the CAT scale that typically do weighing for really big semi trucks, but you can take your trailer to this CAT station and you can weigh it yourself. And so I'll have another video that will discuss me taking the A-liner to the CAT station and actually get it weighed so I can figure out what the real weight of my trailer is after I get it fully loaded, as well as what the real weight of my tongue is when I have it loaded into my vehicle. So as always, if you got some value from this video, please consider liking it. Really, that does help my channel out a lot because that's something that YouTube really looks at. And consider also subscribing to my channel. Anyway, I hope to see you again on the next video very soon.
I've seen a lot of change, been through a lot of pain. Some things are not the same as they were a year ago, but all will be okay. I move on each and every day. The past is where it stays, way back a year ago.